صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم اسلمنا من الشيطان الرجيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. وصلى الله تعالى على خلقه محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. So, if the sisters want to come in and look at the presentation, they're more than willing to come in, and we have emptied the room in the back. I would ask the brothers if the sisters come in to move forward and let them be on that side. Jazakallah khair. So, last time, if you remember, we started out asking the question, what is religion? Why is it that we are talking about this topic? And why does anyone need a religion anyways? And I shared with you some fundamental questions that each human being asks himself or herself somewhere in their life, throughout their life. And it is to answer those questions that a person searches to find out where can I find the answers that would satisfy me and give some purpose to my life and my existence. Let me just go back and talk about those questions, just to remind ourselves. Some fundamental questions all people struggle with. What am I doing here? What is the purpose of my life? What happens after one dies? How did this universe come about? Is there a creator? Who is he? If there is a creator, who created him? I have everything, but I'm still not happy and at peace. Why? How do I know if there is life hereafter? And how do I make some sense out of all of this? I mentioned to you when I started this topic a few weeks before, the importance of this topic is primarily because a lot of our young people, and old as well, are walking out of Islam being confused and not finding some answers that keep going through in their mind, and the wasawis of shaitan that keeps putting doubts, and the wasawis that are being created by the media in the attacks on our beliefs all the time. I'm just going to give an example of a young person before I could go to the next slide. I was talking to him 2 days ago. He's somebody in the United States, not here. He's about 18 years of age now. 4 years ago, he walked out of Islam openly. He was born in a Muslim family. The parents are practicing Muslims. But 4 years ago, he walked out of Islam and to his mother basically said, I don't believe in all these things. And the parents, especially the mother, has been struggling very badly, crying her eyes out and wondering how she's going to be held responsible for what his son has done or is doing, and how is he going to end up. And she has been continuously asking me to help her deal with this, asking me to help my son to understand that what is going or where he's going is wrong. And I kept telling her, I cannot help someone who does not want help. If he wants help, I'll be more than happy to help him. So, a couple of weeks ago, she found that he was in his room doing Hindu meditation, calling about Hindu gods in his meditation without understanding it. So his mom wrote to me in panic, says, what is this? And I asked her, is he making these noises as he is meditating? She says, yeah, he is. So those noises actually symbolizes calling about the Hindu gods. And she panics. She says, what am I going to do about this? I says, I'm just going to give you some stuff that you can give him to read and see what he thinks. So she gave him that article that I sent her. And the boy read it. And the mother said, please, for God's sake, at least talk to Dr. Sadiq and see if you can find some answers. So I spoke to him 2 days ago. Very intelligent, very eloquent young man. No doubt about it. He said basically, I am here talking to you because when I tell my mother I don't want to pray, I can't pray, she gets upset. And I want her to understand that she should not get upset. I said, that's all the reason you're talking to me? He said, yeah. I said, all right, that's your mom's decision, whether she gets upset about now or not. I can't force her not to get a mother upset about her son going out of his faith. That would be irresponsible and unreasonable for me to ask her. But I said, if you have anything that you want to ask me about what you're doing or what you don't understand about the faith you walked out of, I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it. So he said, what is religion? By the way, there are some young people who are coming here regularly. Those of you who have come here regularly for the last couple of weeks, please raise your hands. Very good. Can I ask you, young people who are here, listening to me, is it helping you? Is it helping you understand? Yes? Helping you understand? Sorry?
Of course it is. That's what
Well, you know, so there were some concerns that some young people are here and maybe I should not talk about all these things in their face. It may mislead them. And I just wanted to know if that really is true, because these questions are going through in their heads and they have no answers. And then I'm going to go ask their parents or their shuyukh about it, guaranteed. So it is better that they find out about it on their own and ask questions if they have, rather than keeping them in doubt and protecting them. Does that make sense? Okay, so I asked him, he says, what is religion? So I said that religion is basically a set of beliefs. Can a person be fine without a religion? I said, a person may not use the word religion, but indeed he or she is living by a certain systems of belief. What is belief? He was just argumentative. What is belief? So I explained to him what belief was. He said, I'm going to look it up here. So he looked it up in his internet. I said, oh yeah, okay. He says, okay, can a person live joyfully without having any belief system? Well, it all depends upon what living joyfully means. And if a person indeed can live joyfully always without believing in anything, because life is not joyful, is it? Life is not joyful all the time at all. So he said, I'm happy, I live my life joyously, and I don't need any faith. That's perfectly your choice. He says, there is no force. There is no force in accepting any faith. It has to be of your own will, of your own choice. There is no force. So you're perfectly okay with it. If you're happy with it, fine. But I said, no, one thing. Every choice you make would have a consequence. Khalas. As long as you know that every choice you make would have a consequence, and if you understand what that consequence will be, I'm fine with it. I'm not here to judge you about your faith or whatever choices you make. These situations, like I mentioned to you, are not uncommon. They're very common these days, and like I told you, I deal with these situations 2 to 3 times a month. So you can understand the severity of this problem we are getting into. So anyways, going back to this, these questions are in everybody's mind. What are the answers? And where does one go to find the answer? If you guys have time and willingness and curiosity to learn more about this, there's a very good article on the internet in Wikipedia. Everybody knows Wikipedia? In Wikipedia, if you type, what is the purpose of life? You get this article. It's a very comprehensive article about how this question has been answered by many different groups of people, nations, religions, etc. I'm just going to quote some things from that to you. It says, the question, what is the meaning of life, pertains to the significance of living or existence in general. Many other related questions include, why are we here? What is life all about? Or what is the purpose of existence? There have been a large number of proposed answers to these questions from many different cultural and ideological backgrounds. The search for life's meaning has produced much philosophical, scientific, theological, and metaphysical speculations. Mark the words I've underlined so that you understand what we're talking about. Let me read that statement again. The search for life's meaning has produced much philosophical, scientific, theological, and metaphysical speculations throughout the history of mankind. Different people and cultures believe different things for the answers to this question, so there is no agreement. It's all based on human speculations. It says further, these speculations have been derived from philosophical and religious contemplation and scientific inquiries about existence, social ties, consciousness, and happiness. Many other issues are also involved, such as symbolic meanings, values, purpose, morality, ethics, good and evil, free will, the existence of one or multiple gods, conceptions of God, the soul, and the afterlife. Scientific contributions focus primarily on describing related empirical facts about the universe, exploring the context and parameters concerning the how of life. How of life. Science also studies and can provide recommendations for the pursuit of well-being, meaning what are you going to eat which is healthy, what's going to make you sick, what to eat, what not to eat, what is better for you, what is not better for you in terms of your food and health, so on and so forth. And a related conception of morality, what is right and what is wrong, based on their scientific speculations, which keeps changing. Therefore, the morality keeps changing. So something that was not normal is now normal. Something that was previously normal is now not normal. And it's all based on quote-unquote scientific speculation. Makes sense? An alternative humanistic approach poses the question, what is the meaning of life? Let's go to the next slide. What is the purpose of life? Some popular answers include, number one, to realize one's potential and ideas. So some people say the purpose of life is for a human being to realize one's potentials and ideas, to live one's dreams, expand one's potential in life, seek happiness, devote oneself into one's feelings, one's work, and one's beliefs. Please pay attention to what I'm explaining here. And as you hear me talk about it, please reflect. Is this the belief? Is this the answer that is now governing my life? Is this the answer that is guiding my life choices and decisions? That's the whole idea. Because you need to understand, and I need to understand, what is guiding our choices and our decisions in our life. What principles, what beliefs. Right? So I'm going to read again. To realize one's potential ideas, meaning to live one's dreams. Expand one's potential in life. Seek happiness. Devote oneself into one's feelings, one's work, and one's beliefs, whatever they believe in. A second speculation is to achieve biological perfection. That means to survive. That is to live as long as possible, including pursuit of immorality, forever and ever and ever. Immortality through scientific means. Keep existing and overcome threats to own existence. And overcome threats to own existence. To evolve, replicate, and reproduce. This is where they are trying very hard to work on the cloning business, whereby rich people who are dying are saving their bodies and their genes so that if their time comes where science is able to reproduce man, then they can be brought back from dead through their genes. And they're paying big money for that. That's also a belief system. That life should be forever. We need to find an answer to immortality or die finding. And we need to make sure that we keep existing. Regardless of the fact that they see people dying all the time. Number 3, to seek wisdom and knowledge. Philosophical statement. What does that mean? To learn as many things as possible. Seek wisdom and knowledge to tame the mind, as to avoid suffering caused by ignorance and to find happiness. Do you see anybody in the world doing this? And those sitting in the academic world doing it are not really after those things. They're basically after making money. The next one is to do good, to do the right thing. This is very popular. Many times when I ask in Muslim gatherings when I'm doing this workshop, what would you like people to think of you when they look at you? How would you like them to think about you? And often the answer is that I am a good person. That I am a good person. And I said, you don't have to be a Muslim to be good. Am I right? Lots of people who are not Muslims, but they're very good people. What does that mean though? To benefit others, end sufferings, create equality, distribute wealth, be generous, be creative and innovative, to forgive, to be responsible and honorable, and to seek peace. See anybody doing it? Talk is easy. It's cheap. Any belief that does not have any implication in life is garbage. Has no meaning. It's basically to write books and sound good. If somebody is going to be good, the question is, for what? Why would you want to be good? Why would anybody want to be good? Because you have to lose a lot. Am I right? You have to lose a lot just to be good. That doesn't make sense. There has to be a reason why somebody wants to be good and do good things to others. You see on the news all the time, somebody had an accident, is lying on the road, and hundreds of cars keeps going, looking and keep going. Am I right? Who is doing good to whom? Let's look at the next one. To worship God and enter heaven in life after. But the ways people worship God or gods and what they believe will lead them to heaven varies very significantly amongst people. So for example, in Christianity, they believe that salvation depends upon your believing in Jesus. Am I right? Because Jesus has given his life and he's taken the burden of the whole human race's sins upon himself and paid for it. And therefore, your salvation depends upon you believing in Jesus, who is also a Son of God and has some partnership in divinity and some authority to just say, he's a Christian, paradise. No accountability. That's one way, although they believe in a God. If you come into Judaism, Judaism does believe in a God. But they also believe in a Son of God. And they also have beliefs which are very unique in terms of what is good, what is bad, and what takes you to paradise. If you look at Hindus, for example, in Hinduism, they believe that souls are immortal. Souls are immortal. And if a soul chooses to come to earth, God sends him on the earth. And then they have to go through a test of purification before they can come back. And this purification takes place through various births and rebirths and births and rebirths until the soul has been purified. So the bottom line is, there are so many different ways that people worship God or gods. And there's so many different ways people think that you can go to heavens. The question again is, so whose way is right? The next one is to love, to feel, to enjoy the act of living. Sounds very good, doesn't it? What does that involve? To treasure every enjoyable sensation one has. To treasure every enjoyable sensation one has. To seek beauty, to have fun, to be compassionate, to empathize with the pains of others, to eat, drink, and be merry. So this philosophy basically says, live and let live, forget about the rest of it. That's the purpose of life. Live and let live. Next, go to the next one. To have power, to be better. The strive for power, rule the world, know and master the world, to know and master nature. Do you see every government doing that? Am I right? Every nation, every big guys up there, after this one thing, power, keeping power, mastering the world, conquering the nature. Am I right? Next one, life has no meaning. This says, life or human existence has no real meaning or purpose. Because human existence occurred out of random chance in nature. This is what science says. And if so, anything that exists by chance has no intended purpose. That is exactly, they say, what makes it special. You can do whatever you want to do with it. And then, one says, one should not seek to know and understand the meaning of life ever. Because the meaning to the answer to the meaning of life is too profound to be known and understood. Since we can never find it, don't ask the question. And then the last one is that says life is truly bad. These people believe people will always experience pain, which outweighs any pleasure. Not coming into existence means people will not suffer pain, nor will they be disadvantaged by not experiencing pleasure, as they do not exist. People who believe that, they commit suicide. Because life doesn't matter to them. They go killing people, killing sprees. You see it all the time, am I right? Because life doesn't matter to them. Life is all bad. These are a whole bunch of views that exist in today's world. And you may be surprised by listening to my next statement. I'm not so surprised saying this. Most of the Muslim world lives by one or the other of these views. Whatever practices we have of Islam, as I mentioned before and many times, those are customs and traditions we follow. Correct? This is the most important thing to understand. If one or other or more of these views of the purpose of life is what guides our life on a daily basis, that's what we're going to teach our kids. That's what they're going to learn. They have nothing else, nothing better to understand, nothing better to know. And there's a major, major danger in it. Because you don't know if you're making the right choices, and you don't know what the consequences will be in this life and the life hereafter. So the next question, which one of these answers guides you in your life choices and decisions? You should reflect upon it yourself, and you should reflect upon it as a family. You need to, without fear, be able to discuss these things openly with your kids, your wives, your husbands, so you can be on the same page. That's how you are going to teach yourself and your kids what the true answer should be and where one should look for it. Do we need a religion? Do we need a belief system? If so, where should we look for it? Where do we find the answers? Why Islam? Lots of other religions. Why Islam? Because it provides meaningful and understandable answers. Every answer that I would share with you here does not come from Quran. I'm going to make it clear right now. It does not come from any verse of the Quran. And I have purposely done so. Why? Because the assumption right now is you don't believe in Islam. You have doubt about Islam. You have doubt about the existence of God. You have doubt about all kinds of things. So what is the point of me quoting more Islam to you? Correct? So all the answers are based on wisdom, logic, and rational thinking. Look at the first one. Existence of everything in the universe and beyond was not accidental or coincidence. Because if it was, then there will be no consistency, no structure, no system, and no interrelation between various things that exist. But we know that is not so. As I mentioned in a previous lecture when I talked about the deen and understanding the deen, I gave the example. If an old junky Honda Civic and an old junky Corolla Toyota collide, get into an accident and 5 BMWs and 3 Mercedeses come into existence that run perfectly fine, you would laugh at me. Am I right? Because accidents and coincidences do not result in meaningful consequences. Simple as that. Does this stand to logic or not? Next one. Therefore, we have to say all existence must be purposeful. Otherwise, there would not be any system in them. They'd all just willy-nilly. This purpose can never be found by the created things on their own. Just like a computer cannot know what it has been designed and manufactured for. Am I right? Does that stand to logic? Any piece of equipment, any device, anything that has been created, manufactured, cannot know on its own what it is there for. Correct? Does that logic? Therefore, the purpose and meaning of all existence can only be found by turning to the Creator Himself. I buy a software, I buy a new application, I buy a new phone, I don't know how it works. I cannot ask the phone, tell me, what are you there for? How can I best work for you? What is your use? What is your purpose? The phone can't talk to me about it. I would have to eventually turn to the person who created it and say, look, I have this issue with this phone, I don't know what to do with it. What is this for? And only he or his representative can answer that. Am I correct? Does that stand to logic? This is so rational and logical that denying it questions the soundness of mind. If somebody denies that, you wonder if his mind is sound. If he's intelligent or if he's really retarded. His mind is not functioning properly. Or has he gone mad? But then the question comes up. When we look at every theory and every speculation about how life came into existence, we notice that they all stop at some point confessing that beyond this point they have no answer. So we are getting into, so who created Allah? And here's the logical answers to those things. Pay attention. When we look at every theory and every speculation about how life came into existence, we notice they all stop at a certain point confessing that beyond this point they have no answer. Is that true? Those of you who read these theories and understand science, would you know that. Next point, invariably they admit that something always existed. Correct? Invariably they agree, they confess that something always existed. These theories also fail to explain why some events took place. If the Big Bang occurred, why did it occur? Why? How? They can't answer that. How did these events, and then how did these events result in meaningful new existence with systems, structures, and correlations between them? So the sun goes down, the night falls. Then the sun comes back up, the day comes. And they're going in their orbits for millions of years. All the planets going into their orbits for millions of years. There's 4 seasons of the year go on meaningfully all around the world consistently. Consistently. How so? How come? How so? Why is this correlation there? Why is this system there? Why can't they deviate from this system? They cannot answer that point. even when they attempt to answer the how question, their answers are based on speculation and inductive logic. You know what inductive logic is? Anybody? Inductive logic is when it says, if A and B are there, C and D would be there afterwards. See what I'm saying? This is inductive logic. If A and B are there, then C and D will be after that. Now let me translate it into real life world. So I give this example of the weatherman who predicts the weather 100 times a day on the radios and on TV. And they say, this system and this system and this system is coming together, and the result will be snow from this part to this part, from this time to this time. Make sense? So this system and that system, A and B, are there in a certain configuration. Then it follows that rain or snow will occur here and here and here at this time. How many times are they right? Are they always right? Here in Edmonton we find out all the systems, all the satellites, they are sitting up there, and all of a sudden a tornado comes, earthquake comes and does major damage, and they never predicted it. Am I right? Although they're studying all the time. This inductive logic, everything, every conclusion they have drawn is based on speculations or inductive logic. There is what they call evidence. There is no such evidence that is undeniable. Does that make sense? Next, if such assumptions are acceptable to mankind, why is the belief that God always existed difficult to accept? Does that make sense? If these assumptions and speculations are acceptable to learned men and women of this world, why is the belief that God always existed difficult to accept? That all that exists and shows the plan and system behind it was created with thoughtfulness and purpose. Why is that difficult to believe? It is difficult to believe because they don't want to give in to the belief in a God. Simple. It's a stubbornness. Like Allah mentioned about the Jews and Christians at the time of Rasulullah ﷺ. It mentioned in the Quran. O Prophet, they know you, the truth about your prophecy and your prophethood, that you are the Prophet of Allah, as good as they know their sons that they are their sons. Am I right? They know, but they have ulterior motives to deny you. That's why. That is why they would not admit, because that means they would have to give up their power and control. They would have to submit to somebody's power and somebody's systems and control. And they would have to submit, we don't understand and our hands are tied. We really can't do much about it. We really can't understand it, and that's okay, because we are not gods, we are humans. Before I dwell into next week what Islam's beliefs are and why are they there and what sense does it make to believe in them, how do they give us answers? There's no other belief system, no other challenge, there's no other religion, no other belief system that gives you step by step direction about your daily life, about all the aspects of daily life. Am I right? So, there's no religion, which is based on specificity of what would help you live a life in a meaningful way and make your choices from a proper frame of reference. There's none. This is where Islam comes in and proves its point. I'm going to stop here. I want all of you to think about it and reflect about it. The rest of what I'm going to say, you will not be with me if these facts have not entered your heart and you don't know for sure that indeed there is a God and indeed everything exists, has a meaning, has a purpose. It's not just for fun. I'm going to stop here. Is the other sheikh coming? No? I'm going to take a few minutes for questions before I stop. If you have any questions, anybody about what we covered, ask it now, or we'll inshallah continue next time. Yes? Well, you know, like I mentioned, all of this is self-explanatory actually. All of it stands to rational thinking and logic. So again, if I go in there, it's going to take another 10 minutes. And we're going to have to go eat and come back for salah. Short questions, yes please.
So, how do we know religion is true?
What?
How do we know religion is true?
How do we know religion is true? Again, like I mentioned, if any religion, any belief system that provides you answer that you can live with, that you can feel okay about in your gut, then this is true religion for you. So for example, in one of the hadiths Rasulullah mentioned, Shaykh Mahmud, correct me if I'm wrong, he says, if you have a doubt about anything, ask your heart.
That's the truth. That's what
Am I right? So the heart would never lie. And that's what conviction means. Question, other questions? Yes. She knows.
translate the verse is saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the Prophet, and he was a Christian, will never be satisfied and happy with you unless you follow the religion.
Their faith. That's right. Unless you become like them.
No.
Unless you become like them. So, but you know what? The reason I didn't mention any of the verses right now, because I just wanted to go with pure rational thinking and logic. We'll go through, inshallah, all of this as we go through, but once we have to be convinced in our heart as Muslims, you know, that indeed there's a God, that indeed it makes sense, that my life has some purpose, that everything exists has a purpose, before we can go into more details. So, inshallah, next Sunday.
If anybody does not believe in the existence of God, this means that his life is very, very free. His thinking is not that broad, and he says there is no God. This means there is no heaven, there is no what?
Absolutely. This is just this life.
Aimless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then one question.
Yes, one more.
Where can we find the slides?
Where can you find slides?
Like, say, like, not the video, or just the slides?
But the slides.
By themselves?
Okay. You know what? Here's what I'm planning to do. Some people have asked also previously, because this program has been going on since November. Right? So I finished one whole series on understanding yourself. And I'm starting the second series. My plan is that I'm going to put all these audio recordings and the slides on my website. My website is www.shifa.ca. shifa.ca. They are not on there yet. I will have to find some time to put them up, find out a way to put them up, and then I can give you the link to go there and just look at these slides and listen to the lectures. Bye, sir.
Are you going to talk about the knowledge of the heart?
The knowledge of what?
Knowledge of the heart.
The knowledge of what? We talked about it since last November. You missed the whole thing. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah next week. Yeah.
Even the Christians, my friend says,